she is a straight talker, and I think it is important that we see that as soon as possible so that we can move on and deal with the issues that genuinely matter to people and that are going to matter to people over the next 2 or 3 years. And as you mentioned there, the cost of living and the national insurance hike are things that people are genuinely concerned about.
Well, you mentioned it. Are you one of those Tory MPs who thinks the national insurance rise that's coming in April should be reconsidered?
I think
keep left to continue on Fags Road.
I don't want to see people paying higher taxes, but I also want to make sure that we can fix the health and social care.
In a quarter of a mile, turn right onto Dick Turpin Way.
What I would like to see, and this is a point that I've made to the Chancellor at two occasions recently, if we are on a better trajectory with the economy, if we are seeing tax rises increase, and I sense we might be actually. I've been in Warrington today talking to businesses who are saying, actually, we've got restrictions all lifted. We feel that there is a little bit of momentum in the economy that is lifting us. If those tax receipts that the Treasury receive are better than predicted, then absolutely I would want us to see everything done to make sure that we can prepare everybody in the country for the cost of living increases that we are going to face, not because of the things that have happened here, but because of those global influences. And anything we can do to mitigate that, I will be very favourable on. So if there is headroom that's coming in from a better economic situation, then I would certainly press for a reduction in any increases and hopefully no increases at all.
Very interesting. Good answer. That's Andy Carter, Conservative MP for Warrington South, talking about the Sue Gray report, but also Tory MP, key figure behind the so-called Red Wall, would rather get rid of the increase if they can. We're not talking about the national insurance, we will be talking about it a little later in the programme, but I want to know your view. So Sue Gray's report, oh my God, she's more famous than the Queen, isn't she? Sue Gray, for heaven's sake, we hear her name all day, every day for the last few weeks. The report has now been held in abeyance because the Metropolitan Police have done a complete 180-degree, 360-degree turn, actually, and said that the report cannot include areas that are being investigated by the police. Utter madness. Because the whole point about the Gray report was looking at the area the police are looking at. All the Met had to do was wait for the Gray report to come out. We were expecting it by Monday or Tuesday at the latest. Instead, idiot Cressida Dick, because she is idiotic, frankly, announces when she's before a committee of London Assembly members, we've decided to investigate it. That was on Tuesday. She could have done that next Tuesday when the Gray report was out. Easy. Why didn't she? 0345 6060 973. You're listening to me, Andrew Pearce. It's 6:31. We are going to be talking about national insurance rises very shortly. The time is 6:31. They're looking at headlines with Amelia Cox.
There are growing calls for a report into allegations of lockdown parties in Downing Street to be published as soon as possible. The timing of its release has been thrown into doubt following a request for it to include minimal references to events being investigated by the police. A mother and father have been jailed for causing serious harm to their 8-week-old baby daughter. Mina Faye suffered more than 60 broken bones in her body before her death in April 2019. And the amount of money people need to earn before being required to pay back their student loan is being frozen. The threshold for student loan repayments in England will stay at £27,295 a year for the next 12 months.
LBC Business Update.
With Direct Line Landlord Insurance, trusted by over 250,000 landlords.
Hewlett-Packard's won a multi-billion-dollar fraud case over its acquisition of UK software firm Autonomy. The US tech giant sued British entrepreneur and Autonomy's founder Mike Lynch, claiming he artificially inflated the company's financial performance. LBC weather: heavy rain for Scotland tonight, drier elsewhere with patchy rain, lows of 7 degrees.
This is LBC.
Turn everyday business purchases into the trip of a lifetime with the British Airways American Express Accelerating Business Card. You'll earn 1.5 Avios for every £1 you spend, and for a limited time you'll receive 45,000 Avios when you spend £5,000 in the first 3 months of card membership. Apply today and check out the world.
Representative 96.7% APR variable. 18 plus UK residents only, subject to approval. Offer valid between 18th of January and 28th of February 2022. Terms apply.
If you've lost your car key or need a spare, search Car Keys Solutions. Our auto locksmiths are here 7 days a week, reaching you same day, anywhere in London and the home counties, getting you back on the road or securing your vehicle. For replacement car keys, vehicle security and protection, search Car Keys Solutions. The team team with thousands of 5-star ratings. Car Keys Solutions. Fast, affordable, trusted.
If someone has COVID-19, they breathe it out in particles. Particles that hang in the air like smoke. In airless rooms, COVID-19 can build up over time, so it's harder to avoid breathing it in. So when you're with others, open windows to disperse these particles.
In 200 yards, at Wagoners Roundabout, take the second exit onto the Parkway, A312.
Hello, Sunny speaking.
Hi, Sonny. It's Alex. Is Steve free?
Steve, I have Alex on the line.
Oh, put him through. Hi, Alex. Hello? Hello?
Fed up with a difficult-to-use work phone? Hi is an intuitive touchscreen business phone that makes hybrid working easy. With a removable tablet and business mobile app, you can take your calls anywhere. Hi for Business. Designed, developed and supported in the UK. Visit hi.co.uk.
Right now at TradePoint, get 20% off all kitchens when you spend £2,500 on a kitchen. Plus 10% loyalty discount applies instantly for all TradePoint members. Find us at B&Q or at tradepoint.co.uk and join in under 5 minutes. Excludes templating and installations. Maximum 10 appliances per kitchen. Ends 31st of January. Subject to availability. See tradepoint.co.uk.
OpenReach are upgrading their national telecommunications network to an all-IP future. Before the end of 2025, all existing analog and ISDN lines will be switched off. If you currently use an analog or ISDN connected telephone system, now is a good time to consider an upgrade with Spitfire network services to the benefits of a voice over IP service such as a hosted or cloud PBX. Work from home or office with no setup cost and a low monthly rental. Take action today and go to spitfire.co.uk/big switch off. Spitfire, award-winning telecommunications for business since 1988.
This is LBC with Andrew Pierce. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
So let's carry on talking about why the...
Exit the roundabout onto the Parkway. Continue on the Parkway for 1 mile.
Effectively, they've said most of the report can't be published, and it was imminent publication until their police investigation is completed. Kath is calling from Brighton. Kath, what do you make of it?
Andrew, I actually slightly disagree with you what you said just you break.
Go on.
I think that my thought was, what on earth has kind of Seagrave found?
Yeah.
Because two thoughts come to my mind with this. I speak because this is incredibly painful for me because my dad just went in the first way.
Sorry to hear that.
And it really brings, the talk of the party, no, I'm not bored of hearing about this. It has to be dealt with because otherwise how can any of us follow the rules when we need to next time? Everybody would be ungovernable.
Yeah.
So it has to be, justice has to work and the rules have to work for everybody. But my first thought was, what on earth have they found? And two things came to mind is if the kind of they're investigating something that knowledge in the report comes out, it could get in the way of the investigation. It might not just be summary offences. Two, then the way that Sue Gray would interview people is not interviewing people under caution.
No, that's true. I agree. Yeah. So, they were because she's not doing it. It's not a criminal investigation by her.
Exactly. So if they've come up with something, this is really painful that this thing is going on and on. And it is quite painful when people say, oh, we're all bored of this or we're fed up with it.
Yeah.
But
in 300 yards, at Cranford Parkway interchange, take the second exit onto the M4 slip road to Heathrow Airport, M25.
Yeah, you guys, I'm sorry that you lost your dad. Very sad to hear that. You're not alone, of course. Many other people, which is had lost people during the COVID, which is why the parties have caused such a great offence. Now we're going to carry on with that conversation. A lot of people want to talk about it, but there is growing pressure on the government from a number of Conservative MPs and cabinet ministers and ministers, when you talk to them privately, to scrap the planned national insurance rise, which is due to take effect in April. It's a 1.25% increase. It will be applied to employers and employees. So if you're earning £35,000 a year, that's going to cost you about £318 more in national insurance. Now, Boris Johnson, his government, is saying they need the money because it's to help cut the NHS waiting list backlog, and also in the fourth...
Exit the roundabout onto the slip road.
Let's talk to Kitty Usher.
In a quarter of a mile, merge onto M4.
Kitty Usher, it's a tax which Tory MPs, Labour MPs all say the same thing. It hits poorer people more disproportionately.
Yes, that's right. And it's a tax on earnings, but it's also a flat tax on companies and organisations as well, because they have to pay it just for hiring people, you know, regardless of whether it's good times or bad times. So the increase particularly hits those earning under 50 grand.
Yeah.
So I guess in that sense, it feels like a slightly odd way to be raising taxation if you want it to feel progressive. But for our members, we have around 20,000 members, typically running small and medium-sized companies, trying to grow, wanting to grow.
Yeah.
This just feels like, you know, they're being hit at a time when they've frankly got enough to be worrying about in terms of rising costs.
Yeah, and they're trying, and these members of yours are trying to fight their way out of the COVID-induced slump in the economy, and it, as you say, it's going to cost every single one who's got an employee.
Absolutely, it's almost like a poll tax on companies. So I mean, corporation tax is also going to rise to deal with the costs of the pandemic. That comes in just over a year's time. But that, of course, whilst nobody ever likes a tax rise, is a tax on profits. So you are already succeeding if you're paying it. This is like just increasing your costs. So it just makes life much more difficult, and it's causing really real concern amongst not just our members but businesses generally. And you said that MPs are worrying about it. Well, the public is increasingly really worrying about it too. There's actually I don't know if your listeners would be interested. There's a petition running on change.org that has gone from I think it was about 500 signatures yesterday to 25,000 last time I checked.
And it's that to scrap it? Yeah. Now there was some. I talked to some Tory MPs in the Commons this week about this, and they said, well, they could delay it. I can't see any Tory government delaying a tax increase like that, because if they did, it would be then levied much closer to the date of the next general election, assuming that Boris Johnson isn't toppled and there's a cry for a very swift election to mandate the new leader. But politically, I can't see how that would work for any government to delay the increase closer to election. Don't they have to find another way to find the money, Kitty Usher?
Well, I mean, that's a political question, as you rightly say. What I think is quite interesting is that the world has changed hugely since the decision was actually made to do this, which, by the way, was made like almost bounced through Parliament without a normal budget or debate or an opportunity to discuss what it meant for many of these MPs' constituents. Since then, our sort of two most respected independent economics organisations, that's the Institute for Fiscal Studies and the National Institute, separately, the National Institute for Economics and Social Research, have both said that actually there's a fiscal position, that's the revenues the government gets in, has changed and improved substantially since that decision was made. So there's much more room for manoeuvre now than they thought when they decided to kind of ram this through.
In a quarter of a mile, keep right to stay on M4.
Business at a time when they need it. It's bad for the cost of living crisis, and it's really bad for the economy as well, because it pushes up inflation more because businesses have to pass this cost through.
Yeah. And just finally on that, did I not read, and you will know these figures better than me, that the projected borrowing is going to be 13...
Keep right to stay on M4.
And this tax increase would raise £12 billion, so they've got the money already, in a sense, through the fact they're not borrowing as heavily...
Continue on M4 for 2 miles.
The point that I was trying to make, but you are ahead of me with the numbers there. Exactly right, yes.
Well, we've got the answer, we've sorted it. Kitty Usher, who's Chief Economist for the Institute of Directors. The borrowing less than they thought, £13 billion less than they thought. This wretched tax increase will generate £12 billion, Job done, Chancellor. Scrap the tax. We'll be talking about that more tomorrow because I'm in here on LBC tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Let's carry on talking about Partygate and the Sue Gray report. She is more famous than the Queen lately, isn't she? I bet if you Googled Sue Gray, there'd be more mentions of her than any other woman in Britain today, probably in Europe. Jerry's calling from Whitley Bay. That's a very nice part of the world, Jerry.
Thank you very much, Andrew.
What do you think about all this?
Well, this would give a woodpecker a bad head.
Good expression.
Firstly, it was Labour MPs who wrote to the Met demanding an investigation
They did.
by the Met Police.
Yeah, be careful what you wish for.
Yep, and they were annoyed when they didn't get it.
Yeah.
It was Keir Starmer who asked for an independent investigation. Now he doesn't want to. Gray referred the report to the Met. So basically she asked the Met to look at it. It was Starmer who demanded it in full. So he's probably prompted Sue Gray to refer this to the Met because she wants to be able to do that in full. And now she can't. Now, if we're in a position where we don't trust the police to investigate, and we don't trust an independent investigation, who do we trust to investigate?
Yeah, and I suppose, you see, some people argue, Jerry, that Sue Gray's not genuinely independent because she's a civil servant, and ultimately civil servants work ultimately for the government. Boris Johnson is the Prime Minister. But actually, I would take issue with that. I think she's fiercely independent.
Well, I think you're right, but the point is...
In a quarter of a mile, keep right to stay on M4.
Yeah.
So, the police are under the government,
yeah.
The civil service are under the government. Who is it who can investigate who isn't under the government?
Very good point, Jerry. Thank you for that. Jerry in the glorious part of the world, which is Whitley Bay. We're going to carry on taking your calls on this. It's a total shambles, and I'm sorry, Cressida Dick, I blame you.
Keep right to stay on M4.
Utter shambles. When I heard you were investigating, I thought, why didn't you wait another week for the Gray report to come out? Do you agree, disagree? 0345606.
Continue on M4 for 4 miles.
Time is now 6:46. Amelia Cox has the headlines.
The Prime Minister is being accused of hiding behind the police over allegations of Downing Street parties in lockdown. A mother and father have been jailed for a total of 15 years following the death of their 8-week-old baby. And Number 10 insists a planned increase in national insurance will go ahead in April following reports Boris Johnson is having doubts. LBC weather, heavy rain for Scotland tonight, drier elsewhere with patchy rain, lows of 7 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff. On the M25 anti-clockwise, a lane is closed between junction 26 for Waltham Abbey and junction 25 for Enfield because a car has broken down, so it's slow going past. On the A40, the west way, it's slow heading into town. A lane stays closed between the Paddington Slip and the Marylebone flyover. That's for repairs after a van caught fire earlier on. Now, our queues in Holloway on the A1, the Holloway Road going out of town. One lane is closed just after the Odeon Cinema because of emergency repairs. On the trains, London North Eastern Railway have delays of up to an hour at King's Cross because of an investigation. And on the Docklands Light Railway, there's a reduced service between Bank and Canning Town and also between Tower Gateway and Canning Town. That's because of a power failure.
This is LBC.
It's estimated that 1 in 10 children will experience sexual abuse before they turn 16. That's equivalent to 3 in every classroom. Most children won't tell anyone at the time. But there are signs to look out for. Has your child become more withdrawn or started acting differently? They could be trying to tell you something's wrong. To learn more about the signs and find further support, visit stopabusetogether.campaign.gov.uk.
30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30, 30, 30, 30. Okay, I'm ready.
Recording.
Philip Schofield here. With We Buy Any Car, you can now get a quote in just 60...
In 2 miles, at junction 6, take the A355 exit to Slough Central. quarter of a mile, at junction 6, take the A355 exit to Slough Central.
I'm sorry, she got the job, in my view, because she was a woman, and it's a very noble idea to have a woman Metropolitan Police Commissioner for the first time. The Home Secretary was Amber Rudd, female. The Prime Minister was Theresa May, female. They wanted to get great ideas.
Exit at junction 6.
Before, ever, and she'd never been a detective. Why on earth did she get the job? And every month there's another disaster on her watch.
In a quarter of a mile, at the roundabout, take the third exit onto Tuns Lane, A355.
A pleasure.
I actually think this has kind of gone beyond party politics now, to the extent in terms of it being such a monumentally catastrophic.
It's a disaster, isn't it?
Yes. Firstly, there's no reason at all I can think of legally why Sue Gray's report shouldn't be published. No, and if I were her, I would publish it.
But she's a civil servant, Hannah, and she will behave as civil servants do. Told not to do it, they won't. But I agree with you. Publish and be damned.
Yes, I mean, she is. You can't go much further than second BUS. You know, she's at the top of her game. Does it really matter? You know, she's had the country behind her and everything else. Well,
exit the roundabout onto Tuns Lane.
Because it's such a mess while this report's not published.
The only reason I can see for everybody...
In a quarter of a mile, slight left towards Sippenham Lane.
...is because it might in some fudgy way or some... I don't know quite how, exonerate Boris Johnson and permit him to remain in power. I mean, why else?
I don't think that's what the report does, Hannah. I think the report sets out the facts, and then MPs will draw a political conclusion. And if Boris Johnson, if according to those facts, it looks like he misled the Commons, he said to us last week, if ministers mislead...
Slight left towards Sippenham Lane.
I mean, he's quite patently, obviously misled the Commons already.
Well, he said there were no parties. There were 7.
And then
continue for 1.5 miles.
Outrage, because I will tell you, this is appalling, and I am outraged. It's rubbish, and at what point does somebody begin to? Well, I know we're talking about Boris Johnson here, but at what point does somebody start to? Why can't he realise for himself that ethically and morally he's totally bankrupt, and it doesn't matter whether he says no.
Hannah, he's a politician, and they never ever like to go. They never know when to go. They have to be dragged screaming, shouting and kicking out of whatever job they're in. Hannah, great call. Thank you for that. Let's squeeze in some more calls. Let's go to Carl, who's calling from Margate. Carl, what's the view in Margate?
Oh, hi Andrew, thanks for taking my call.
Pleasure.
I've been listening to the show for a couple of hours now about the same subjects, obviously, and I'm just really surprised that nobody, your callers or yourself already, had brought into the conversation the fact that Priscilla Deck and Alexander De Steffel are old school chums from Balliol College, an entitled Eton college, where they were both there together. They're both friends. They've been friends for nearly 40 years.
Well, they won't have been mates. They won't have been mates at Eton, Carl. I think you might mean Oxford, because at Eton they're all blokes.
Sorry.
Yeah. Don't worry.
Instinct screaming at me. There's been a couple of phone calls. I think that Boris Johnson just wants to keep this report out until he's gone, because it will prove that he lied to Parliament, which we all know anyway. It doesn't matter what you know, it's something you can prove. This report will prove it, and then he'll have to go. There'll be no other option for him to go. He'll have to go.
But you see, so you're suggesting somehow he's lent on the Metropolitan Police Commissioner to suppress the Sue Gray report. If there was any evidence of that, not only would the Prime Minister have to go, so would she.
Well, she has to go. I mean, she's been there by the skin of her teeth for how long now. I mean,
she's useless.
They're scratching each other's back. It's an absolute disgrace. Because the reputation of the government on the floor and the reputation of them now in the gutter, these two have colluded to somehow, bizarrely, lower it even more. And I'm done with it.
All right, Carl, thank you for that. Just on the matter of accuracy, I've just checked. They may have been at the same Oxford College, but Cressida Dick is 60, Boris Johnson is 57, so there'd have been very little crossover between. I never went to university, but I don't think people who are in their 3rd or 4th year mix with the juniors, and they may not have even been at Oxford at the same time. But just for the record, let's carry on with the calls. John's calling from Norwich. John, I think you're a new caller.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
You're very welcome.
Thanks very much.
What do you think,
Thanks
John?
for taking the call.
No, pleasure.
What I wanted to say, I've been listening for quite a while to this, and I've been following the story quite carefully, and something that seems to have been overlooked is the fact that Sue Gray, who sounds like quite a thorough person to me, might well have overlooked, or might well have uncovered some other offences, and the two that spring to mind, which are quite obvious, are misconduct in a public office and possibly perjury. Now, if she's uncovered evidence of any of those offences,